Welcome, friends. It's nighttime here. My kids are finally asleep, but before I can settle into bed, I need to share with you a new rabbit hole I've been going down thanks to my viewers. The Five Browns is a documentary you can easily check out on Amazon or another platform. But first, let me share with you what my deep dive has uncovered so far. The Browns are a Mormon family with 5 children, 2 boys and 3 girls. The Brown parents made their children start practicing piano as early as 2 years of age. Eventually, they developed a regimen of practicing 5 hours a day, 7 days a week. They turned to homeschooling to get all the piano time in their parents felt they needed. One by one, each of the children was accepted into Juilliard. Then, their father became their agent and manager. They toured around the world and sold hundreds of thousands of CDs. The 5 Brown kids always wore big, wide smiles on their faces as their father tape recorded them on his old handheld camera from the wings. Years later, after the 5 kids had fired their father as their manager, the girls stepped forward to announce to the world that their father had been SMing them their entire lives behind the scenes.
Juilliard is also home to our next prodigies. They're brothers and sisters, the Brown kids. And as Scott Pelley reports, they all play the piano.
You literally have been playing the piano since before you can remember.
Since before I can remember, yes.
They are the oldest of 5, 3 girls, 2 boys, with a singular gift, a talent videotaped by Dad from the start.
And so far, the world has been kind. Since our story was first broadcast 3 years ago, the Browns have signed a record deal. All 5 play on their first CD, which comes out next week.
If having one piano virtuoso in the family is not enough, this family has 5.
姉妹のお姉さんですね。次、クラシック界のジャクソン5。クラシック界のジャクソン5ことザ・ファイブ・ブラウンズが日本デビューを記念して初来日し、都内でミニライブを行いました。ピアノ5台で演奏するという異色のパフォーマンスを行う彼らは、全員が名門ジュリアード音楽院で学んだ5人兄弟。今年2月に全米デビューし、ビルボードクラシックチャートでは8週連続1位を獲得した大注目のユニット。ところで5人で喧嘩することはあるのかという質問に末っ子のライアン。
So, as we can see, the Five Browns are a classical piano ensemble consisting of 5 siblings, 2 brothers and 3 sisters. In descending age order, the Browns are Desiree, born in 1979, Deandra, born in 1980, Gregory, born in 1982, Melody, 1984, and Ryan, 1986. They are the sons and daughters of Keith and Lisa Brown, and were born in Houston, Texas, which is where their piano study began with Yelena Kurtnetz at age 2 or 3. In 1991, the family moved to Utah, and the children were homeschooled and continued private study there with another instructor. Early on, each child was said to have shown a clear talent and interest in piano lessons, and while the children were introduced to other instruments, their passion was the piano. According to their parents, playing came as naturally to them as eating or sleeping, and as early as age 9, they had made their debut with the Major Symphony Orchestra. In addition to their work on 5 pianos, the 5 Browns performed and recorded works for solo piano, 2 pianos, and just other various combinations of siblings. The 5 Browns toured extensively and performed in numerous venues. In 2009, they performed as part of the New York Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week, and designer Zach Posen placed 5 pianos in a line down the middle of the runway, and the 5 Browns played complex 5 piano arrangements. In March of 2009, their book, Life Between the Keys, a lighthearted collection of personal stories, was published by Phoenix Books. The group was also featured in a PBS TV special, The 5 Browns in Concert, which aired on PBS stations throughout the U.S. For all 5 Brown siblings, there was so much success and accolades. They seemed to be riding high, and there was no sign of controversy behind the scenes. Then, in 2011, seemingly out of nowhere, the patriarch of the Brown family, Keith Brown, was arrested. Appearing solemn and showing injuries from a recent car crash, Keith Brown, the father of the 5 Browns, arrived to court and entered a surprise guilty plea to S.A.ing 3 of his daughters when they were children. Keith Scott Brown, 55, was charged with abusing Desiree, 32, Deandra, 30, and Melody, 26, all members of their popular Juilliard-trained quintet of siblings. The women had chosen to be identified in the court papers. Keith Brown arrived in a Provo, Utah courtroom with scratches to his face from a recent car crash of his Porsche that sent him and his wife, Lisa Brown, 54, to the hospital. The accident occurred 4 days after the charges of SA were originally filed. In an agreement with prosecutors, Keith Brown pleaded guilty to doing some horrible things to children under the age of 14 and to 2 additional charges of SA of a child. All are felonies. Keith Brown pled guilty to the SA of his 3 daughters, spanning over a period from 1990 to 1998. He was sentenced to 10 years to life on the first count and 15 years to life on the other 2 counts. In late 2011, Desiree and Deandra Brown formed the Foundation for Survivors of Abuse, a nonprofit organization through which they advocate for victims' rights. In 2018, a documentary on the controversy was released. It's called The 5 Browns, Digging Through the Darkness. In a statement posted on the 5 Browns website before the guilty pleas, the siblings thanked friends and other supporters for their concern and prayers on our behalf during this trying time. One of the greatest sources of joy and satisfaction in life is the opportunity to share our music together and with fellow music lovers throughout the world, they said. So when you watch the 5 Browns documentary, you realize the most shocking part of the whole story is that the girls disclosed this abuse to their mother and brothers shortly after college when the touring started and their father was their manager. In the documentary, we see that at first, the family decided to try to work things out among themselves by keeping everything the way it had always been, but getting their dad into some kind of counseling. To me, it sounded like Mormon church counseling, not necessarily professional help. Eventually, the relationships among the group and their father and mother disintegrated, and they ended up firing their father as their manager. However, shortly after this, their father started working with and managing other musical groups that included young girls. It's only at this point that the sisters decided they must do something to protect any potential future young victims, and they filed charges against their father. Sickeningly, towards the end of the documentary, we learn that the 5 Browns' mother chose to stay with her husband, and because of this, the children no longer have a relationship with her. The girls have been through so much throughout their lives, and you can see more about what they've overcome on the docuseries. The thing that struck me the most about the 5 Browns documentary is how enmeshed the entire family seemed, and how the 5 siblings appear to still have issues with enmeshment. They are struggling to create and maintain boundaries as well as forge ahead with positive relationships with each other. They continue to play their pianos together as a team, and we don't hear a lot about their solo endeavors in the documentary. I do wish I could know each of them more as individuals. At least the daughters have maintained a strict boundary with their parents. It took a lot of bravery to speak out against their dad. It's so highly shocking and disappointing that their mother made the decision to stay with their father in spite of the girl's request for her to leave. So here we are, friends, the 5 Browns, the Duggars, and the Willis family. What do they all have in common? They are large religious families who place emphasis and honor on the idea of having many children, as many as God will allow. But at what cost? Recently, someone made a good point in talking about how even a gardener will thin out its various plants when they become too numerous to survive based upon the limited resources available.
I heard this all the time in fundamentalism, and it always drove me crazy.
Saying there are too many children is like saying there's too many flowers.
Children aren't flowers. They're human beings. They're not objects. And if you want to stick with the metaphor, a good gardener will thin their plants when there are too many for everyone to thrive.
For more awesome videos like that from Tia Leving, check out Tia Leving Writer on Instagram. I'll have her information posted below this video. She's a former fundamentalist, and I absolutely love her Instagram stories. I used to pray to have a lot of brothers and sisters when I was a kid because I felt very lonely. So I believe that having siblings or a big family can really be a blessing in so many ways. But in certain situations, we can see how it can be a symptom of deeper issues in ideology and theology. The Duggars, the Willises, the Five Browns, in each of these families, I see a lack of valuing each child as an individual. Especially in the case of the Five Browns, the children are seen as objects, a means to an end. They are put on display and even pimped out. What kind of childhood did they even have? Total focus on a musical achievement in the most extreme manner, being expected to go further than their parents ever had, all following the same path like they weren't even allowed to become their own person. You can't tell me all 5 children were organically completely devoted to going to Juilliard, all for the same instrument. There had to have been some guidance provided to head them all down this exact same route. The father of the Five Browns had something else in common with the patriarchs of the Duggar and the Willis family: a desire to have his children and family on TV. What is the motivation? It's a search for self-gratification, an issue with egocentrism. And when it comes to the Willis dad and Keith Brown, they are seeking their own pleasure with no consciousness of community standards or the price that their own daughters will have to pay. When you have so many children, it becomes easy to not know them very well on an individual case-by-case basis. It's easier to distance your own psyche from the harm you're actually doing to them. And it also makes it easier to hide in a family where a mom and the other female relatives are so busy raising 5, 10, 15 children, they are too overwhelmed to see to the individual needs of each child. So let's be honest, the kids in these families were used up, really. Packaged up and sold to the highest bidder at times. Whatever television network or concert venue was willing to pay, they went with. Lately, I've been following some family bloggers. I used to really like watching them, but I've had to look at them with a more critical eye. How much fun and freedom could your kids really be having if you spend so much time setting up scenes, editing videos, and forcing kids to stand a certain way for the perfect shot on vacation? Yes, it's really a little different than just documenting your lives for your own personal enjoyment at home as a family. When you feel the need to package it all up and make it look like perfection, what kind of lies are you really telling? I'm continuing to head down the rabbit hole with these families. But I'm ever more weary than I was before, uncertain who and what I can really trust about them. Please join me again soon, where I'll be looking more closely at some famous or even infamous Mormon social media influencers and asking some of the same questions I've been asking myself about the Duggars, the Willises, and the Brown families. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, folks. Time to head down your own rabbit hole.
New York's Juilliard School is renowned for turning out the best musicians in the world. Of the thousands that apply each year, only a small fraction of the most brilliant and talented get in. The Brown family from Alpine, Utah is extraordinary because not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but all 5 of their kids are among the chosen few.
My next guests are 5 brothers and sisters who are all piano virtuosos. They'll perform in San Francisco on April 21st at the Palace of Fine Arts. Tonight they're playing a song from the debut CD, The Five Browns, which came out today. Please welcome the Five Browns.
Early
Earlier we told you about the 5 amazing Browns playing the piano together, brothers and sisters.
The 5 Browns, ranging in age from 19 to 26, practice nearly 4 hours a day on pianos in different rooms at home, then face each other playing small pianos in their basement. Then they all drive to a store to rehearse on better quality pianos.